Okay.
Hello, Scott Lemrell. How are you?
If I don't do this, we'll never get there. Sometimes we just have to start the show, or you and I go off talking about this or the other thing. We have to stay very focused so that this can be a benefit to people who are following this show and want to be benefited by it. So, yeah, I'm glad I'm on the show. Nice to see you again, Perry. Always is nice to see you again.
Yeah, and last Friday we didn't have a show because of the Independence Day, right? So people were wondering.
Yeah, it's because of the Independence Day. Yeah, everybody's celebrating fireworks all over the United States and all that. And I went to a beach with some friends, which I regretted. People had campfires and little campfire pits. The smoke was so thick, it burns your eyes, and I won't do it again. But it was a one-time thing.
So next time you can go on the mountain instead?
I'm just putting on headphones to make my sound quality better on my end before we go on a journey for anybody that might be listening and wants to. I can tell you some interesting people are following your show, and Gail's too, because they've written to me. You know, out of the blue, people you wouldn't think would ever be following this are following it. So that's good. It may not be the huge, big thing in the internet and out in the world, but it's finding the right people. And that's what we wanted to do. So I thought I'd tell you that. People have written to me from all over the world. A little here, a little there. Some people that were, deeply involved in the film industry have contacted me. Lots of things. So, I don't know, other than for their benefit, I don't know where that will go. But they're reading the books. They're reading The Emerald Doorway. And right on there, if you look at how well that cover's made, this designer of these covers with me actually hired actors to wear costumes to play these parts. That's how really good covers are made, real people. There's Etta hovering there, and there's Master Ramu with his crystal staff, and Melina, Caleb on anti-gravity discs. There's his ship, and there's the Ancient One, which looks just like they do when they're out of their bodies. So people can see what the Atma or soul looks like. What they really look like in the image of the source is that, not the bodies below it. That's important. And then, of course, the Seirei's agenda. As you can see, there is a mile-long cylindrical parent or mothership. It's called an Emerald Star Cruiser. It's a mile long. There's bridge controls on each end. These are scout class ships going into it. And it's hovering, stationed in the ice rings of our planet Saturn right now. So when people go there and read this, in the technique section in the back, it will help them a great deal to remember what they were made to forget before they were born here. That's really puts it in a nutshell. It helps them remember what they knew before they were born here with no memory. What happened?
Scott, if a movie makers want to make a movie from your book.
We don't talk about that. No. It's nothing like that. We're not even anywhere in that direction. So it's not to be talked about. Right now, the only thing I'm interested in for their benefit is that they read it, get benefit from it, have their eyes way opened up about what's beyond this earth, and begin to have a little recognition and memory recall themselves that something's ringing true in these books they don't find anywhere else on this planet. Because as they read it, it opens a door. It's set up that way to help them recover enough to have the courage to step way into recovering, recall, remembering. So that's the first thing for their benefit. The other stuff, I don't even focus on that right now.
Okay. If people can watch your movies, a movie from the book.
No, we don't talk about that. Because that isn't the initial reason that I replied to someone who wrote me about being interested in this work. The main thing is they need to know more about me, what I really do, and the books themselves, as far as being filmic, they'll know they are. I'm not concerned about it at all. But it's not to get something out of them. It's to help them first. That's it. So I want to keep it focused there. And then I don't worry about the rest of it. There are people being prepared to work with me all over the planet in high levels of finance in the film industry. They know who they are. They'll remember. They're being contacted when they're out of their bodies at night, when they put their body to sleep, in a kind and unexpectedly wondrous way. That's how this works. I don't effort things or compete with other people or fight over negative things or any of that, because it's completely not necessary. No competition. I don't work there. Not interested. Okay, so we set that aside for the record. Of course, when people contact me in this way, I don't mention any names because it's not appropriate to do so, and I don't have their permission anyway. So I don't. Some things, you know, you and I will talk about off the record, off these recordings, but this is for the public. The worldwide public. Whoever finds these shows is meant to find them out of 7 billion people. That's clear. So we move on from there. Did you have any particular questions or any people that have talked to you?
Yes, I have questions from Cheryl Copelin. First question, can my Atma be dissolved?
I didn't understand that. What?
Can my Atma be dissolved?
Can my Atma be what? Dissolved?
Yeah, dissolved.
No, and she doesn't have an Atma. She is an Atma running a body. It's important I make that distinction, or she'll go on thinking she's this personality she grew up with, and she has an Atma somewhere that she has, that she can pull out of her pocket and look at once in a while. It doesn't work like that. There is an Atma running that body. It grew up with a personality on this earth, developed a brain, and learned what it could in this life. But the Atma, the real her running that body, is spherical and has the capability to explore and understand the multidimensional creation on all levels. The human body does not have that capability. You couldn't store it in a human brain. But in the Atma, it can, over time, it can recondition the brain, the nervous system to be able to accept a download of much more expansive wisdom and knowledge and understanding from the Atma, the real person. So when I'm answering this question for whoever this person is, I'm talking to the being that's running the body, not the body. I'm talking to that picture behind you. That's what she looks like when she's not wearing any kind of form, not even an astral body. The pure her or him. Okay, it has structure. It is made of energy. There are levels to it. These little teardrops are faculties, and they need to be recovered and awoken, turned on. And if you don't grow up on earth with the brain you've got this time, with any education or training whatsoever about any of it, why would you know how to use it? Or how to even turn it on or remember it? See, so that's the first step. The question is, working with the hue, the new ray in the hue, which is a new consciousness streaming through the omnipresent field of energy that is in between and underneath and supporting the entire multidimensional creation. Planets, universes, galaxies, dimensions, astral, causal, mental, etheric, the void, the worlds above it. There's an energy field that is not nuclear, not atomic in nature, that is behind matter. And when people start to discover that in any life on any planet, they begin to make pretty swift gains in awareness and enlightenment. And that's basically because they begin to make a journey back to where they came from while they're living in a physical body, not just on earth. They begin to make a journey as the Atma to return from whence they came, to share what they've learned from all those lives with the source itself, prime creator, so that we can make this universe, the lower dimensions and earth, run vastly better than they have so far. All of us are down in these worlds You take all the suppression and tyrants and subconscious implants and all that stuff out of the picture. You've got left is an Atma floating there in space. And it has a function and a purpose, and its purpose is to explore the lower dimensions and return, so that from the experience they can deliver what insights into new ways of doing things that have never been done before in creation. And that's really what the purpose of a human being is. And when I say human being, I'm not talking about the human body. I'm talking about the real person. Okay. That should really be quite a bit as an answer. What's important isn't what I say in words. What's important is what is accomplished telepathically when I'm speaking. And I mean that sincerely. I'm not fooling. I'm playing games with people here. When I'm talking to you and to the people who are listening to this show or who will listen to it when it's played back on YouTube, it's meant as a telepathic communication with the true nature of their being. And it's designed to help them recover what they do not remember. Give me 1 second because I want to close that door. You wouldn't believe that. That was a friend. Normally wouldn't answer. He's not aware of these shows. He knows they're done, but he's never really tuned into what I'm doing. But he's a friend locally. And he's got a 50th birthday. So where he wants to go, where I'm going to take him, is Disneyland. To see the new Star Wars, whatever it is, you know. Anyway. The things I put up with. Anyway. For your radio show listeners, for all the people out there, wherever they may be, there are certain things that are said during this show. One, to answer this, was that a woman or a man, the name you gave me?
A woman.
It's meant to answer her in a way that will help her. Information will not help her. Data about UFOs and extraterrestrials will not help her. There's only one thing that will help anyone, and that is direct awakening experience about what I'm sharing with people. And I provide the means to do that, how to do it. We're going to do that by example in a few minutes. I'm going to show people how to put their body in the trance state called sleep, that they put it in like experts every single night without realizing what they're doing. The difference is we're going to do it so that they remain aware while the body gets into this still, deep place and runs on automatic. And then we'll go on a journey. And when I describe what it is we're doing, because eyes will be turned off, which means the brain is basically turned off too. The body runs on automatic. It's like the pineal gland will secrete melatonin, serotonin, make melatonin, and then it makes the body run on automatic while you're gone. And it's 7 billion unconscious people on Earth. I mean, majority of people on Earth, they don't know what they are that isn't this, what they think soul is or what it looks like, what more advanced races from out beyond this planet call Atma, like an atom, a living, intelligent, self-aware individual in eternity. And it's really comprised of the same white light with a gold tinge energy that's in the source way beyond the void, known to whatever religious orders are on planet Earth. There are many planes above that void. When I share that with people, some monks and other people that have been very highly trained or been wondering about this their whole lives will suddenly make a leap forward because they'll have the discipline to go over that void and see what's up there. and they'll get the help if they want it. Friends of mine from out of town will meet with them. Very advanced people. Some of them have bodies 10,000 years old on some planets or more. And they're not limited to their bodies. I think they can help. So other things that I'll say in reference to people that contact me, I will say things that will trigger something or help them to recover the use of a highest faculty of a being, which is direct knowing perception. And that is the ability to see into, not with physical eyes, the nature of the grand multidimensional universe. And to be able to remember and to understand it. And then, once a being gets that done, when they learn how to come back to this body, bringing an awareness back to it of where you go when you're out of it, the body and the consciousness, the brain, everything changes for the better. So I want to make that clear. And of course, this just means that all I'm saying is that this needs to be experience of other people. I can have all the experience in the universe and know it for myself, but it doesn't do anybody a bit of good if I'm the only one who knows it and they can't know it. My experiences show me that every human being can know it under the right conditions, despite what they believe or think. The Atma is not made of nuclear material. It's not made of atoms. It is energy, but it's not energy that people on Earth understand yet. And it has the ability, because it's not nuclear and not made of atoms, it is capable of moving into the multidimensional universe without the limits of time and space, matter, black holes, gravity, any of that. The speed of light has nothing to do, in fact, with the movement of the Atma. That's all relative to light as it's slowed down in the lower dimensions. That's not the fastest anything. Speed of light is not a limit on speed of movement. It's just what people on Earth have wrongly concluded about it. And they're way wrong about that. There are even physical craft that can traverse, say, between galaxies, between that great void of space between galaxies, in a day. And people on Earth can't. How is that possible? Laws of physics as they know it say it can't be done. But that's only because it's the law of physics as they know it. And it most certainly can be done. And it is done. The beings that pilot such craft out there do so telepathically. This means that higher natures of the being are involved in circumnavigating multi-dimensions of reality, going through time warps, as people call them, or through an interdimensional doorway from one point to point A to point B, vastly beyond the speed of light. It requires the use of the imaginative faculty. And I don't mean what you make up in your mind as imagination. I mean, the imagination is the ability to see into the grand multidimensional universe. You could be looking out a window, and this is the simplest way I have of describing it for people on Earth. There you are in a classroom, right? Growing up, everybody can relate to it. Some teacher's just boring or they don't like the subject, so the kid's looking out the window, daydreaming. And his eyes might see what's out the window at the parking lot or some trees or the swimming pool or whatever they have there. And that's what his physical eyes will be seeing, or her. But when they're imagining being at the beach or on a surfboard or somewhere else, they're actually doing it in some reality. They're actually seeing it, but not with the physical eyes. It's called imagination. People on Earth don't know what they're doing, how to use it, because they've never been trained from birth about any of it at all, whatsoever. So you can't blame people for just being stuck on Earth with not remembering the ability to travel around the multiverse out of their body and come back to it all the time. They do it every night anyway. They just don't aware of what they're doing when they come back. Most people identify with the physical body, and they think somehow when they lay down on a bed, you know, the brain just makes them go to sleep. No, the brain doesn't do that. You, the being, unaware, make the pineal gland secrete these chemicals, these substances that put it in a trance state, make the heart, lungs, and circulation work while you're gone. There's a link, it's a telepathic link, between the white core of the Atma, which you see in that picture back there, and the pineal gland in the center of the brain, which is the controlling center for running a physical body. The being runs it and keeps a certain energy link to it that is not psychic. It's not positive and negative. It cannot be broken with a hydrogen bomb or a ray gun or extraterrestrial weaponry or anything else. It is a form of communication that exists behind matter. So matter is not involved. That is the best way of putting it. Some scientists, when they hear this, if they're smart at all, halfway insightful, are going to begin to understand the importance of what this implies. In the CERN Super Collider, in the Large Hadron Collider in CERN, Switzerland, it's huge, where they smash these particles together at near the speed of light. They do this to see what matter comes out of it from this. Dangerous to do that, but at least they found this thing they call the God particle, which is an energy that exists behind matter that doesn't act according to the laws of physics as they understand it. And it never will. It is an energy that is in all things. In the physical universe, it is the dark matter between space. When the people look at it with physical eyes, through astronomical telescopes, radio telescopes, they will see it as a black space. Of course, electronic instruments can show what colors of light are really there that human eyes can't see. Infrared, ultraviolet, X-rays, all these other levels. So the universe is very colorful, really, but not where human eyes can perceive it. They're on a higher frequency. So this dark matter is really not dark at all. It's like a white light with a gold tinge. It's in everything. It's between planets and suns and stars and galaxies and all the black void of space between galaxies, between the different dimensions of matter worlds and universes that exist in higher molecular time rates above the physical universe. There's a lot to it. And none of it is dark. So it's important when people begin to understand this, that they're really connecting as an Atma and riding through that dark matter or beyond it into, you can't even call it dark matter, into the matter that exists between galaxies and dimensions upward from here. Higher rates of molecular time rate that coexist on different levels. More advanced races can move craft between 144 parallel dimensions in the physical universe. The more advanced ones, before you even get to what would be called the astral plane, the next major division of creation that people on Earth, scientists really aren't very aware exists at all. And it does. Beings that take such craft around the universe are always benevolent. Some of the races that were tyrants could travel between some of the parallel dimensions, but they're limited because negative natures cannot go freely around the multiverse. Negative natures of any kind, negative emotions, negative imagination, will not go above the void into the higher worlds. That is impossible. The only element that can go from here in a craft to as many as 144 parallel dimensions in the physical universe, to worlds in each level, don't have to be limited to ships to go beyond it. They just put their body in the back of the ship, put it into the trance state, that people on Earth call sleep, get out and go with their buddies up into the upper worlds. They could travel from a planet like Nerexalum clear across 500 light years and be on Earth floating around looking at things as an Atma instantly. Speed of light is not a limitation whatsoever. I guess scientists on Earth are beginning to understand what this dark matter is. They thought it was just dust at first. Then they realized this dark matter is some kind of energy, and space is full of it. In fact, most of all existence, most of all space is this energy, not even the galaxies or the planets or the moons. Most of it's this energy field those things float in, are supported in. And they're actual beings who regulate and maintain galaxies spinning on their axis that people on Earth don't yet understand at all. That stuff doesn't just float there by itself on its own. So there's a lot that people on Earth particularly need to recover or remember as beings in order to be able to have the privilege to play among the stars and go into other realities and use advanced spacecraft. At the right time, people on Earth would be given all this stuff. There wouldn't be any money involved at all. People on Earth who are struggling in power now don't have a clue. They're starting to become aware that there is something being provided now or in creation now that's moving in one direction that will make it possible for people on Earth to make a great change for the first time. Benevolent beings endeavor to work with people who don't remember who they are, think they're bodies. They work with them when they're out of their bodies at night first. The body's asleep, all their fears of the future and money and all that stuff is a kind of asleep with the body. And when they get out, they have a much more expanded capability as the Atma. And then they're approached by other kind beings who help them to remember that they are this Atma and not a body, and then help them to get over their terror of leaving their body, their terror of what happens when the body dies, where they go, do they live, do they die, do they perish. You get people over that fear first. When they wake up in the morning, after a while, they just change. Their consciousness becomes more liberated. They're less fearful of the future. And it's gradual, but it's actually pretty quick these days, and it's speeding up. To me, these just aren't just words. I'm actually sharing with people the truth of direct experience about this. Something I happen to know they're capable of recovering under the right conditions. I don't doubt it. It's not speculation. It's not theory. I don't work with theory, speculation, debate, fear, doubt, any of those negative emotions or imaginings. They're a waste of time completely. Nothing constructive can ever become from imagining something that you're afraid of in the future. The reason is because this omnipresent field of energy that scientists on Earth don't yet understand is a co-creator with us and with the beings beyond this planet. It means when you use your imagination, which is not made up in the brain at all, to see and imagine what it's like to live on another planet or another universe or another dimension, or on a beautiful tropical island somewhere, just sitting there looking at it. The Atma is seeing that, not the brain you grew up with, not the eyes. And people are doing this all the time without being aware that's what they're doing. When you start to become aware of what to do with the imagination this way and what it's for, then you can start to imagine getting free of this trap on Earth with no memory. And tyrants wouldn't care. They would help people stay stuck to use them as slaves. Benevolent beings from other worlds and their master teachers would help people recover the truth about who and what they really are. Because their co-creativity is important and of free will helping transform this planet. Their Atmas, just like me or you, are beings from other worlds. They have to be respected. It's true that beings on other planets finally came to the realization, not long ago, that people on Earth no longer have free will. The whole 7 billion of them, practically all of them. Because they don't remember what they are that isn't physical. They don't remember the high use of their higher faculties to move around the universe. And they wonder if there's life on other planets. You can't get any more suppressed than that. So the bright side is there's only one way to go now, and that's up. From that level, you can only go up in awareness, and that's good. This is the bottom. When you can't remember we don't remember who we are, what we are that isn't that isn't physical, and how to move it around the universe. How to recover wisdom we once had long before this lifetime. And if you can't do that, then how do you have free will? Well, you can't. So the first thing that we do, meaning myself and friends from out of town, and the wondrous beings I know and the master teachers that work with them that most people on earth never, ever, ever knew existed at any time, is to help people recover true free will. Number one. And that's to have the ability, the courage to step forward and search out hidden truth, despite how they were brought up, their religious beliefs, which are full of fear for the most part. If you don't follow what the priestcraft say, then the devil will get you and all that kind of nonsense. I make it clear to people, when asked in particular, they're on earth without the ability to understand where they came from and what they knew before they were born here. That's not free will. They might think they have free will to go get a hot dog or fly in an airplane or go to Hawaii and come back and raise kids, but that's not free will. That's operating within the limits of one body and one life stuck on one planet, with everything else occluded or suppressed. So free will has to do with the voluntary, conscious decision to step forward, step away from social training, go higher than religious trainings available on earth, and go into what some of the better parts of those religious trainings are trying to teach people, not by faith alone, but by direct awakening, enlightening experience. Because that's what changes a person. Nothing else does. If a person goes through this life and dies in fear, fear of heaven, fear of hell, fear of anything, the fear they carry with them will generally propel them to get back into the false security of being in a body. They'll usually seek out another baby body. They'll get born again with no memory, and over it goes again. The real truth is fear and all negative emotions have to be given up forever. And that takes the conscious, true, awakening free will of a being to co-create that with this omnipresent force and all the beings that are consciously working in that force to help them do that. Tyrants only force their will on others. Kind beings do not force their will on others. They get them to step forward voluntarily, co-creatively, and then they make change very rapidly. I want to make that clear for all the people of Earth. I don't care what religion they're in or what they believe or anything else. The fact is, and they're all going to find it out one day anyway, none of the religions that are represented on this earth exist anywhere else off this planet, in any of the trillions of planets that are out there, in the physical or in the higher dimensions at all. They don't exist out there. People out there work in ways more direct. They don't have subconscious minds through which they can be manipulated in negative ways. So they don't react to things negatively like people on earth take for granted and do every day, almost every moment of every day. They do not have fear of the future. They know who they are that isn't a body. They know that can't be destroyed. So why should they be in fear? The truth is, many people on earth are afraid of leaving the body because they think they'll be caught by something. The Atma isn't matter. It cannot be targeted or harmed by negative things. It can be made or convinced to believe that it can be controlled by some so-called superior God or being. But that's just a manipulation. That's tyrants do that to people. Mandatory worship of a supreme being or you go to hell was created by tyrant rulers controlling priestcraft. Period. That's the truth of it. On any world, anywhere. Which means the source itself never required that we worship it in the first place. What we're meant to do, you and I and everyone else, is to co-create with that source, be respectful of that source, and respect each other and all life. If people want to gain freedom out there in heaven or whatever they think's beyond this life, they're going to have to respect all life that exists beyond this planet, or they will not be allowed to do so. That's the tough cookies of the whole thing. Because people on Earth are, right now, fearful, and I don't care what government, classified, or royal families, whatever they are, they're living lives in fear of something. And as long as that's their influence subconsciously, they will make mistake after mistake about what to do with the world and what to do with people and who to tell the truth to and who to lie to. Always incorrect. Because it's negative. Anything that's deceptive or deceitful is negative, and it creates repercussions in space-time that are equal and opposite to it. So it means that those people also suffer and get disease and die too. It's a waste of time, the whole thing, the way it is. To get free of that kind of thing, a person has to lose fear, get rid of it. And that comes through experience. Why do I want to get rid of it? How is it a trap? What am I like if I don't have fear of anything? What would that be like for a being? How would they live? How would they feel? How would they communicate with others without that burden? Amazing. And just thinking about it's amazing. So the first thing that happens with people on a world that's going to be changed is they need people, when they're out of their body at night asleep all over the planet, they'll begin to get approached by more beings from other worlds. Kind, not threatened, not controlled, not lied to. They'll be uplifted just by meeting with them. And then they're shown more of the real truth that they once knew before they were forced to be incarnated on this planet with no memory. And then when they come back to that body in the morning, it begins to change them in good ways. They become freer and less fearful, more courageous, more confident, more intelligent. Their IQ goes through the roof, and they're able to comprehend things that their fellow beings on Earth cannot. This is how this works. So I will put that out there for the benefit of all people and all life on Earth, no exceptions. I'm simply representing a vast numbers of beings and cultures that exist not only beyond Earth out in the Milky Way galaxy and other galaxies, but in the entire multiverse up through the planes, who are moving in this one new direction now, fortunately for all of us. First practical steps, I work with the primordial first sound. Think of it as a sound that boomed out into creation, done deliberately by beings or Atmas like us, before the lower dimensions of time and space were ever created. In other words, we are energy of a type and have always been energy of a type that is not nuclear, not matter. Protons, electrons, quarks, semiquavers, all the stuff that they use in physics on Earth today. A quantum in a great big quantum field of energy. It's kind of spiritual. You know, quantum's like an individual Atma moving in this huge field of energy that's quantum. And that's theoretical, but it's also accurate. Theoretical on Earth. It's not theory to people who don't live on this planet. They know it. So when they work with understanding what the source behind all life is, what they are that isn't physical, the decisions they make between millions, hundreds of millions of world systems, they do it from knowing about this, growing up. And it's not theory. It's not conjecture. It's not debate. It's not arguable. Nobody competes about it. There's no negative in it. Nothing of a negative nature. Real free will has to do with how you view things and choose to create things without the influence of anything subconsciously negative. In fact, without the influence of anything negative at all. Negative emotions that compel negative imaginations toward the future are artificial. They aren't real. They're programs. They have never been a part of the Atma. But many Atmas on some worlds and in galactic history have been forced in certain conditions to believe that they're a body, or that they can be limited. And so they use their imagination through this fear-driven stuff to trap themselves without even knowing they're doing it. The correct use of the creative imagination is to intentionally and of consciousness imagine or bring into creation something new that will be of an uplifting benefit to all life. That doesn't work with this omnipresent field of force. If all you're doing it for is selfishly for just your own family or your own country or your own planet, it has to be on a multi-dimensional level, respect for all life. Beings that people will be meeting on this planet one day come from many world systems and many dimensions in the physical universe. This is going to be a real mind blower for people on this planet. But I must point out to people that this wouldn't be the first time they knew it. It'll be awe-inspiring, but somewhere in their past before this lifetime, they cross paths with knowing this stuff, at least to some degree. Recalling that is the first step towards freedom of consciousness, of being, creating, etc. Okay. I ask people to get restful in a state, sitting in a chair or lying down. So we'll go take everybody on a little journey with their true free will, co-creative, courageous permission. When I describe the things we're going to see and where we're going, I can tell you, you are seeing them. They are there. How much confidence you have with that depends on how much you're willing to bring back to that body when we return to this journey, from this journey. I ask that people, in their imagination, first imagine someone or something they love and respect and are grateful that whatever that is in their life. And I do this every single time, no matter what. If I repeat it in one radio show and others, because it needs to be done as a unique, fresh creation each time. It isn't on automatic. And it's done genuinely. Imagine someone you love and respect and you're grateful they're in your life. Person, place, or thing. It should be something when you close your eyes, it just makes you smile inside. For me, it's this little guy behind me, this cat. Because he's an Atma running that body, and he's an advanced traveler out of his body. He's an Atma like us. He's not running a human body, but he's brilliant when he's out of it. And he travels even into the high worlds with me. This is really hard for people on Earth to grasp because they've been made to forget all about this kind of thing. I can tell you that what was done to them, the people of planet Earth, was not done to them with their free will. And that should be enough to motivate a lot of people to go deeper into this and really recover what they have a right to recover. I always send this out, or most times anyway, it's always running in the back of my consciousness, simply this. And I send this out to all the beings I know and work with day and night, in and out of my body, on many worlds, on many dimensions, because I travel to all of them and have for decades and decades. I send this out to people who hear it telepathically through the hue, the first sound behind all creation. It is not nuclear in nature. There is a new ray of energy running through it, a new kind of intelligence that provides not only the protection, but the motivation for people to become aware of how to create with their imagination that which will be of uplifting benefit to all life everywhere. This is required for people to get free. Then you imagine anything you're afraid of or have ever been afraid of in your life, aging, whether you were born blind or deaf, or have physical handicaps, or don't. It's a physical handicap just being alive on Earth with no memory. Whatever it is, you are not a physical body, and you never have been one. You never will be one. And the sooner people on Earth become aware of that again, better off they're all going to be. You put aside in your imagination little computer disks, just imagine on the floor around you, stuck to a piece of paper on a wall, whatever. When the body goes into the trance state called sleep, like you put it in every night, like experts, then we're going to leave all these fears of the future. Age, how long you live, what happens after you die, family, relatives, culture, religion. For now, it's all there. No one's taking it from anyone. You're putting it aside right now in favor of knowing the hidden truth about everything. The hue will bring life and vitality and dynamic change into anybody in any religion, in any walk of life, when they begin to work with it in the right way and they know what they're doing. It takes faith into direct experience. And this is extremely important, that it take that next step. Okay. I begin to send out the hue in a number of higher tone levels because it's addressing who you are in the physical, running that body, and who you are running a physical body in the astral plane, the next major division above the physical universe, the causal, the mental, and etheric, and who you are above the void and where you came from. And it puts those, it assists those forms, most people don't remember they have, that they're running as a single Atma, single soul, into the trance state called sleep in such a way that they become aware of each other on the different planes, maybe for the first time in millions of years. And it helps them help you. These are your higher selves, so-called. Most people on Earth just assume their higher selves are helping them, but this is no evidence of that fact on this planet. So something has to be done to kick this thing in gear. I will begin these tones, which are telepathic, and it means that beings I would be working with, will be meeting with, hear this, and they begin to do it with me. We connect, we communicate. And I'll begin those tones now. Leaving the physical body is easy as cake, piece of pie, like breathing. And the thing of it is, everybody on earth does it every night, sometimes during the day without realizing it, of course. When you imagine a beautiful waterfall, people have seen waterfalls or seen them on the internet or seen what a galaxy looks like, or billions of galaxies from space Hubble shots, or from telescope shots, time-lapse photography on Earth, and they've seen all these beautiful nebula, these billions of galaxies, of billions of stars in each one, just in the parallel dimension they can see with the physical eyes from Earth. And there's 144 levels of that. It's big. When you put the body to sleep at night, you're putting in a trance state. When I say trance, I mean the body, not you, the being. The body's put on automatic. The brain kind of slows down. It really isn't working except to maintain the functioning of the physical body, breathing, heart circulation, that kind of thing. And then most beings on Earth will simply identify with that body. They grew up with it. They don't know any better. They aren't taught any better. And they'll just kind of go unconscious with it. Well, really, they are going out of the body and having experience. But they have no reason to have the confidence on Earth growing up with the brain and body they have here, or the understanding of how to bring back what you're doing in those journeys and properly downloading it to the physical brain you grew up with in that body, so it becomes more capable, more enlightened of understanding life beyond Earth. Because you're going to have to do it one day, whether you like it or not. I don't care who a person is on this earth, what religion they're in, they're going to have to confront the real truth about the multidimensional creation one day anyway. It's better to do it while they're still alive, if they can. And if they want to, they'll get the help to do it. That help is usually unexpected, unlooked for, but uplifting. When you imagine a beautiful hummingbird hovering a couple feet in front of your face, looking at you, and you're in bare feet walking on brown, moist grass, kind of a brown moss, and you see that this bird is in some kind of communication with you. This is your imagination. Call it daydreaming. And you can hear it speak to you in your head. And when you look at it closely and you look above this bird body, you see an Atma hovering there. The white core, a layer of teardrop-shaped self-effulgent lights around that, in a kind of a yellow layer. And it becomes orange. It goes through the spectral colors of light. It becomes red, then little green, then blue, then lavender, then violet, and there's kind of a golden energy surrounding all Atmas. It's manifested from the white core of their being, and it's kind of a protection against coarse physical energies and matter. And then you find yourself hovering above that body, looking down on it, looking at this hummingbird, and guess what? You're an Atma looking at the Atma running that hummingbird. You can't tell much difference between the two. Both are unique individuals. Both are not physical form. It's just as easy to imagine being hovering in the atmosphere where you live at 5,000 feet, looking down on your city or your countryside, right through the roof of where you are, and seeing you sitting or lying down with your eyes closed, because your body goes into the trance state called sleep in this process. Doing the hues begins that process. It's simply signaling or instructing the brain in the pineal gland to secrete serotonin and make melatonin and put the body in automatic. So it'll be fine and breathing and getting oxygen while you're on a little journey. The difference is you're hearing my voice as a kind of guide to stay focused on being awake while the body is actually asleep. Not you, the body. Imagine yourself hovering in space, in the black void of space above planet Earth, looking down on it with its polar ice caps and continents and oceans. And you can see the moon hovering over there, circling it, all the craters on it, no oxygen. You can see that it turns around the sun. It doesn't turn on its axis. It always shows us the same face. It goes around the sun. When you look at this black void of space, because that's what you expect to see, you've seen it in photographs, time-lapse photographs of outer space, it appears black. It isn't. It's just because physical eyes on Earth can only see a certain spectrum. And the brightness of the light that's out there in the dark matter, so-called, is not dark at all. It's just on a frequency human eyes cannot detect. The Atma can most certainly see it. So when you look now, you will see that that void you're in space, where you don't need to breathe, you don't feel heat and cold, radiation won't bother you, and you're floating in space with many other Atmas who are going on this journey. And you can see the Earth from up here. And when you look at the black void of space, it is a white light with a golden tinge sparkling through it. That's the new ray in it. That is actually part of the omnipresent hue. And that field of energy, people call dark matter, is not atomic in nature as people understand it on Earth. And it is between everything, between us as beings, between the planet and the moon and the sun, between the sun and other suns, between those suns and the core of this galaxy, between this galaxy and other galaxies, and on up through the dimensions, so forth and so on. And as the Atma, you can see it for what it really is. The Atma's perceptions of things is not limited to physical eyes and ears. You can see a friend of mine, his name is Ambassador Torellian. He's from the Say race. That is a human race, or was, a very long time ago. And he's an Atma like us, a bit brighter perhaps. And when you're hovering there, you can see me there, and I'll have a body form extended out in front of the Atma that I am, the spherical being, the energy I am. And you'll see me look to be about 36, like the body you see on this video. Perry's that age, you'll see other beings there, some master teacher friends of mine. One is named Master Ramu, and he has a crystal staff made of quartz in his right hand, 6 feet tall, and it has on it a cross with a ankh. It's a tall vertical oval with a hole in it. Just basically stands for eternal life. It's a kind of a device, and he always carries it with him. We don't have time to get into the depth of what that's about. But these are master teachers who have recently been set free themselves to do more for beings like us than they could before. There is a Master Opellum, who is a pale blue skin with long silken black hair, slightly pointed ears like an elf, beautiful emerald green eyes, appears to be about 40, 6 feet tall, elegant gown, and he's holding up his hands. This is a being manifested out in front of the Atma, so you can see on the body he has back in his world, has little webs between the fingers. He lifts his neck and you can see little slits, 3 of them, you wouldn't notice otherwise, that are actually a type of ability that gives them, the Oceanian race, the ability to breathe underwater or on land. Yet their genomes and the DNA are almost identical with ours, slight differences. These are master teachers. Opellum's body is ageless on the planet where he is kind of a leader of that world. And he was responsible for, with the inspiration of the Say race, to create the galactic interdimensional alliance of free worlds. In our galaxies, comprised of over 5,000 world members that represent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of advanced spacefaring cultures, spiritually and technically far advanced of people on Earth, simply because what was done to us was not done to them. They have recently become motivated to help people like beings on Earth recover true free will. That's a whole story. People can find out about how that came about in the Sayre's Agenda book for themselves, and through the Emerald Doorway, book 1 of the Parallel Time Trilogy. The Sayre's Agenda is more about direct experience and how beings are, what's changed out there in present time and going to the future regarding our planet Earth. The Emerald Doorway is more about extraterrestrial good and bad and involvement in Earth prior to the last polar shift on this planet over 100,000 years ago. I say this simply because they were created to be kind of interdimensional portals for the recovery of freedom of awareness and true free will in people. They are published and designed for people on Earth. When you look at Master, I wouldn't call him, I don't even call Torellian a master. He's kind of beyond that, but he's an ambassador to the Galactic Alliance and ultimately to Earth too, a much deeper level. The Sayres, or beings that are 18 to 25 feet tall, we get our genomes and our DNA from them directly. They have 8-stranded DNA. We have 2. More advanced human races have 4 out beyond Earth. And this was evolved in them over 1 billion years ago when they did what's called immortalize their bodies. They helped bring into existence in Andromeda, Milky Way, and many other galaxies the higher forms of genetics, like a human that we have on Earth, that is capable of receiving much more multidimensional understanding of the universe under the right conditions and being enlightened as a physical form through which the Atma may operate. The bodies we have on Earth vibrate at the exact same molecular time rate. That's why we see each other. The bodies in a parallel dimension in the physical universe vibrate at a different time rate. So you don't see them normally, and they don't perceive you either. More advanced beings can move between these realities and be aware of all of them. The Sayres helped bring races up to this point and then disappeared from creation for a very long time. Their co-creative part in developing bipedal, walking on 2 legs, different types of human, humanoid, and other races that became spacefaring cultures. And when the Sayres bowed out of this creation some time ago to see what we would do with it, the beings that were advanced spacefaring races became negative or evil, some of them, much, much later. The Sayres were not involved in that. But they are involved now in what's changing out there, and ultimately what will change on this planet Earth we know of. There are several master women teachers. One looks like she's from India, very ancient. They have physical bodies. One is a honey blonde woman, about 36 years old, immortalized her physical body over 100,000 years ago. That means the body does not age, and she keeps it protected and safe and does service. The body of the Sayres you see manifested in front of the being out in space is a different type of immortalization. They didn't keep the physical body unageless in a physical form. They dematerialized it and drew it up and stored it in one of those little teardrops in their Atma. Whenever they need it, they manifest it out of the omnipresent energy, do their business, dematerialize it, and go off free of the limits of matter. So they're very advanced. When you can see that Torellian's kind of in the center, you can see most of us, a number of us, including these master teachers, sit in a circle of spheres around Torellian. This is to keep a focus on getting something constructively done, recovering hidden truth, because the universe is vast and you can get easily distracted into nonsense. When you look down on the earth now, you're going to see a heat wave go over your field of vision. And that just means that Torelli and I and some others are raising the vibration so you can see an earth that exists in the same place the earth does that you're used to, except now it's a different planet. It's in a third higher molecular time rate parallel dimension out of 144. It is a protected world. It's never had negative beings on it. There's no pollution in the atmosphere of the water whatsoever. And beings live for ages in physical forms here, particular master teachers and numbers of the Galactic Alliance personnel. And that planet has no polar ice caps. You can see it. Huge, beautiful oceans and a large continent centered over the equator from left hemisphere to right. Goes slightly up about a third below the poles and comes down about a third below the poles below. And then it's got a crescent about a mile long down at the bottom of this one massive continent, an emerald green beach. And you can see it glowing from space all the way down there. And off to the left where the moon was that had all these craters, it now has full oxygen, clouds, rivers, lakes, mountains, 5 dome cities, and as it's turning on its axis, because this one does as it goes around the earth, there's a dome city on the backside where it's more mountainous. When you look down on that emerald green beach from space, you're going to see Torellian and myself and a few other of these master teachers moving down towards the planet. So we're just moving in a circle like stars around a galaxy down into the atmosphere of that planet Earth. And as you pass through these clouds with a pink tinge, almost a little lavender pink tinge to them, you move through into the atmosphere, which is crystal and blue. You can tell immediately there's nothing of any polluted nature in this oxygen-rich atmosphere. And you can see this emerald green beach approaching below what you are as an Atma, until it looms in front of you, maybe 50 feet below, and it's a big crescent shape, mile long. And you can see right down to these little green grains that make up the sand. And when you look at it, you can see that it's transparent, it's high quality, and these are little emeralds, polished from sea and water. And they were put there deliberately. There's a glow about a foot of green energy above that sand, actually radiating like it's lit up. And you can see Torellian hover above the ocean offshore, which we're all doing as Atmas. And then you see his body appear in front of him. And he's standing up to his knees out in the ocean. He is 18 feet tall with long, semi-curly blonde hair, big blue eyes, a little bigger than a human on Earth, pointed ears like an elf, in a gown like a Greek god. And then you can see that you have a physical form appear in front of what you are as a being. It looks like you, perfectly healthy, flawless, no weight on it, nothing, just trim, vibrant. And you're in bare feet, and you feel your bare feet, all of you along the sand, sinking into that green sand until you feel a cool energy and a warm energy combined, moving gently up your legs. It passes through your entire physical energy form that looks like you, goes up into the white core of your being, hovering above that body, and then it's sent out into the green layer that you'll see that extends around you as a white spherical orb, as an Atma. And it goes out into that green layer where there are many teardrop-shaped green energies, and it turns some of them on. This has to do with the gradual turning on of recall or remembering who you are, what you knew before this one life on Earth. This is a gift from a race on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy, on a planet 4 times larger than Earth, and we will get to that. Then you see your legs simply vanish. And you are a being, spherical, hovering around Turelian. And you can see that there is a brown moss-covered path, 3 feet wide, leading straight into between these giant jungle trees, this emerald green beach, and these giant prehistoric-looking ferns. Flowers here along the beach are 4 feet high, 3 or 4 feet wide. They're gigantic. And you find that you're hovering atop the jungle trees until we go inland about a mile, and you see down there, this roadway, this pathway, comes to an end on a white marble floor, several hundred feet across in a circle. And surrounding it for acres is tall, 4-foot-high lavender grass. Standing in the center of this white marble floor is a woman, elegant, 10 feet tall, made of quartz, perfectly grown quartz, no impurities in it, it's transparent, has a slight blue tinge to it, and she has long silver hair. You know this because when you look through the surface of the quartz, you see the actual being hovering inside it. And you can tell that her hair is silver like metal, but you know that it's soft to touch. She has pointed ears like an elf and violet eyes. She has her hands up to each side of the statue. There's a glowing sphere of light around each one, and when you look down that brown path to the beach, you can see that these hands are charging that beach. She has a gold band around her forehead and one teardrop-shaped faceted emerald crystal set in it. And when you look into that crystal, you can see a woman standing, 10 feet tall, beautiful, elegant woman, inside a green atmosphere like you're inside a coliseum. In the next instant, you find yourself with Turelian Olivus hovering in this green atmosphere, in this interdimensional doorway this device represents, in a kind of a staging area. And she's in bare feet. She has longer limbs, a little bit longer fingers, and longer neck than people on Earth. She's 10 feet tall, elegant like a swan. And beside her, you now see a male, a little bit taller, long silver hair, violet eyes. This is her mate. And these are physical forms they're showing you they have back on their world. And they're telling you they are 3.5 million years old. When you look above them, you see the Atma they are, running those forms. This is important. When you look off to the left into this green atmosphere, you can see a planet hovering there. Now, this is clear on the other side of the Milky Way galaxy in our physical dimension, opposite Earth. It is a planet 4 times larger than planet Earth, and it has 3 moons, all with life and oxygen and atmosphere, no polar ice caps, circling this planet that they're the size of Earth. Down on the planet, you can see red rock mesa plateaus like you might find in Sedona, Arizona. Beautiful trees and rivers, and a huge domed city off in the distance across a valley, covering 3 gold-sided, quartz-capped pyramids, and white roadways, and a big lake inside the dome. Outside the dome is this huge valley between large red rock mesa plateaus. And you can see in the distance from here that it has 3 suns, a trinar system, a huge blue giant, a yellow sun like our Earth, and what's called a red dwarf, all circling this one big blue giant. And then you find yourself as an Atma hovering above a stream that runs through these mesas. It's many miles across. Far in the distance, you see the dome city nestled between 2 mesas. And there is this couple standing in bare feet to greet you, and you look up because they're taller than you. And you see the Atma, the sphere of their real being, hovering above them. And then you are there, walking in bare feet on this green sand by this beautiful blue, crystal blue river. And you get a feeling and an understanding with the form you have there, communicating it up to the Atma running this energy form that looks like you, of what their world is like. Those bodies you see before you are more than 3.5 million years old, unaged. This is one type of immortalization. When the understanding of the genome science of DNA is understood properly, they are switches. When you have mastery over those switches, bodies don't age, get disease, or anything else. Then you find yourself hovering in this green atmosphere in front of this woman and this man, standing upright, hovering, floating in the air. And they smile at you, and they put their hand over this chest like that and nod. This is respectful. They see who you are from Earth. They know you don't know what they know yet. But they understand that you are an Atma just like them. This is important. And then you find yourself hovering above this statue, looking over the white marble floor in the statue. And you see in the distance, if you follow that brown moss-covered path on the opposite side of that white marble floor, it winds its way up a mountain, a single mountainside with glacier-covered cap. 2/3 of the way up the side of this mountain is a cavern opening in a huge waterfall, blue-green and luminous, has luminous properties, phosphorescent kind of thing, dropping thousands of feet down to an upper plateau where the water disappears into a river behind a surrounding large blue-green forest that surrounds a huge domed city. And you can see, this is on Earth in a higher parallel dimension, that this dome city covers 3 golden-sided quartz-capped pyramids. At their base is a long ivory-colored dome. These are science laboratories. And this dome was built by the Oceanians. This is the first being we met up in space in orbit was Master Opelum. He's a master teacher. They have the most advanced crystalline-based science in our galaxy, along with the Zeontranamus people from Zeotraman 1, which is the tall, silver-haired, violet-eyed human race. The statue is a gift from them to this world. In those domes, inside, in different chambers, beings work on new ways that are being brought into creation to transform the suppressed subconscious people that are living in the delusion of being bodies on planet Earth. And they can come at will from that reality into our own by lowering their vibration. And they do carry out certain things. Mostly they will meet with people like us when we're out of our bodies at night to help us unwind the tight subconscious knot that misdirects feeling and thinking of people on Earth. What happened that created this goes into galactic history after a great war 500,000 years ago in our galaxy. The next instance, you'll be floating above a white path, marble, several feet wide, that leads off into many different, like the snake of a river, little ivory-colored domed dwellings. There's a big lake. There's the 3 pyramids in the back. Now we're inside that domed city at the base of the mountain. And this being, who we saw up in space above Earth, is now walking up to us physically. Long black hair, beautiful emerald green eyes, little webs between his fingers. And he has a chief scientist with him who looks like him, a little shorter. And they're greeting us telepathically. They're welcoming us to this place. And when you reach out with your feelings as an Atma here, you'll see a body form that looks like you appear to stand on the path in front of them. This is an energy projection. And then you'll hear them speak to you in your being. And it begins to download into you, with your permission, a little bit of galactic history that brought about the creation of that dome city and this reality on a higher parallel dimension of Earth that has never had any tyrants of any nature ever come there. The Say rays, like Turellian, are responsible for that. And you'll see Turellian standing 18 feet tall, out in a little field off to the side, smiling. And the Atma that he is hovering above that form. And then he'll point upward. And you'll find yourself hovering in space, looking down on this planet with this huge continent, which is called Lemuria or Mu, because in this parallel dimension, the poles never flipped. It was not destroyed like it was on the Earth you know of 100,000 years ago. And this is going to serve as a prototype for how the Earth will be changed, and the Moon. It is not destined to stay the way it is. And you can see out in space, there's a white field of energy with a gold tinge everywhere, between planets, stars, between galaxies. And you see a heat wave come over the Earth. And then you see the Earth you're used to and the pockmarked crater-covered moon with no oxygen atmosphere. Then you see yourself hovering above your body as a sphere of energy, looking down on it, smiling kindly. Now, you run through this experience and download it into that brain that you grew up with that does not have any of this recorded in it. And you let that energy, that green light that was given to you, and the white light with the gold tinge that surrounds it, move through your brain, out through your body, turning on brain cells, raising your IQ. And it flows out into the universe on its way to do some good for others. When you're ready, open your eyes.
Our journey, Scott, we all need to keep practicing, keep going, keep doing.
Right. It's like everything, because this is recorded, and it's similar to other journeys we've taken. The reason I'm repeating them in different ways is so people will get more grounded and confident with seeing when they're not in their body. Then bring it back a place that's Earth and the Moon that is completely constructively positive. To start our journeys into other realities, we'll go to other places, the next one for sure. But to go from a place that's not like Earth when we leave, so all the negative stuff is left behind. So we go into a higher parallel dimension of Earth and find out what it's like, who's working there, and then we go off into other realities, higher planes. And I'd seen that it was clear for a few weeks we needed to kind of go on this kind of a journey several different ways. And that's just the tip of the iceberg about seeing and knowing things out there. So I want to leave that with everybody. And with your permission, I will stop the recording and wish everybody pleasant dreams. Till next time.